Now joining us is Jo Swinson, re-elected as the Liberal Democrat MP for East Dunbartonshire after having lost her previous seat in 2015. Conservative MP Crispin Blunt, Government Minister under the Coalition until 2012, more recently the Foreign Affairs Committee Chair until last month. He'll be running for a re-election, no doubt. And Michelle Gildernew, Sinn Féin MP for Manor and South Tyrone. Let's just start with you, Crispin Blunt. I mean, are you happy to be hanging about with the DUP?
Well, it's necessary.
John Major says it isn't.
Well, I can understand why Theresa wants more certainty with a confidence and supply arrangement. That makes sense, so you can then rely on them in their key votes, and you haven't got to negotiate every single time. These people are tough negotiators. It's probably wise to do this negotiation once rather than on a rolling basis.
And you're not queasy about their views?
Well, I'm quite queasy about their social conservatism. Obviously, I wouldn't share that. But of course, that's nothing to do with my constituents, nothing to do with the policies in Great Britain.
It's difficult to divorce the people you're actually hanging about with from their views.
Well, except, of course, their views on those issues are either devolved, or if there was going to be a vote in the House of Commons, subject to a massive Liberal majority in the House of Commons on those issues. So it's actually irrelevant. And there's been quite an energetic exercise by our opponents to try and paint the Conservative Party as somewhere suddenly having got into bed with these views and acquired them. Finally, I rather suspect the reverse is going to happen. This arrangement is quite likely to, because of the focus now on the DUP, quite likely to be a liberalising influence on them when it becomes clear just how much society has changed, both in Great Britain and in the Republic of Ireland, and there's no reason why Northern Ireland isn't in the same place.
Well, talking of Liberals, I mean, Gary was saying nobody's going to have an appetite to bring this government down for the moment. At least you want another election like a hole in the head.
Well, I think Brenda, who so famously spoke out at the beginning of this snap general election campaign, there would probably be many people in the country that would agree with Brenda. But, I think when Crispin talks about this DUP deal and, we don't need to worry about their social conservatism, well, all I would say is if there's going to be this deal, if it is nearly done, then I very much hope it's going to be published. It's going to be transparent so that everybody can see exactly what the terms of that are rather than having to take people's word for it.
Michelle Gildernew, you are now, well, you're here, but you're not here because you don't go there, but you do come here, which is interesting. So we've got Sinn Féin here on the lawn, but not in there. But what role are you going to play?
Well, we're here. We're not on the empty benches in Westminster, and very much of what happens here in London has very little to do with my constituents. The DUP Conservative Alliance has an awful lot to do with it. So, for example, the DUP have blocked marriage equality, they've blocked the Bill of Rights, they've blocked Act na Gaeilge. We are very concerned about the DUP policies and what that'll mean, or what promises Theresa May is having extracted out of her by Arlene Foster. So we have a huge amount of work to do, especially in regards to Brexit.
Point, can I just ask you whether you think there is any possible legal challenge here on the Treaty of Good Friday? The Good Friday Agreement surely stipulated no British or Irish government could favour in any way any of the Northern Ireland parties. This surely is favouring.
Absolutely, of course it's favouring. The British government are co-guarantors along with the Irish government of the Good Friday Agreement. They cannot be honest brokers, they cannot be neutral if they're in an arrangement. Well, I'm quite sure people are looking at the legal ramifications of all of that.
Would Sinn Féin launch a legal challenge, even if they were challenging something they would never sit to see?
Well, I know we have a lot of work to do here in London, in Brussels, in Dublin and in Belfast. We have got to represent the rights of our constituents. We're very concerned about what this deal could mean for them. If it means that there's a financial package, obviously the executive will have to implement that. It's not up and running because of the attitude of the DUP to respect equality and integrity.
Well, Jo Swinson, you're nodding your head for the Liberal, but would you support a legal challenge if there was a case?
All I'm saying is I think to see what the impact is actually going to be, you actually need to see the deal. You need to see exactly what it is rather than it just being in closed doors. I mean, when the coalition was negotiated in 2010, it was fully published and everybody could see. And I think these things ought to be transparent if they are going to be done at all.
Crispin Blunt, we've got a situation in which the Conservative Party is going to have a relationship with one party in Northern Ireland which they will not enjoy with any other party.
No, that's true, but however, it has to be said that Sinn Féin would make the charge against a Conservative Secretary of State that he was biased anyway, whether or not that there was a deal, because we are a unionist party by outlook.
No, but
and so that charge would exist. Now,
this is a specific point.
But James Brokenshire has duties under the agreements then to exercise as Secretary of State. It's to a degree quasi-judicial responsibilities. Our ministers have no problem exercising quasi-judicial responsibilities separate from the political responsibilities they also hold. And of course, since they are going to be overseen in the sense and justiciable, as you kind of making clear that they might be open to legal challenge, I'm pretty certain he will exercise those two roles very carefully and very responsibly, because in the end it's down to the DUP and Sinn Féin to put the devolved government in Northern Ireland back together.
Yes. Well, let me ask you all the same question.
If I can just finish the point, how can James Brokenshire be a neutral arbitrator in talks that we have to have this week between Michelle O'Neill and Arlene Foster if his government are in an arrangement here in London? He can't be neutral. He can't be independent.
No, it's the same point. He's then exercising a role under the agreement, under the responsibilities of the agreement, and it's a kind of quasi-judicial role in that sense. And so it'd be different from the political decisions he would be taking as a political player, and indeed as the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland under the current arrangement has therefore got to be responsible for trying to get the devolved government back together.
This just highlights the mess that the government is creating, and in fact it should be adopting a much more consensual approach to Brexit, recognising that Theresa May went for her large majority, she did not get it, the public have not backed her vision of Brexit, and so as William Hague was saying today, it actually should be something the government's doing to reach out across the parties to try to find some consensus where Parliament can come to a view of the best way to take this forward, rather than these kind of deals which create all sorts of friction.
Well, let me ask all three a question. Is there a new song in the air? No general election for at least 2 years until the negotiations are done.
I think it's essential that we get the Brexit negotiations completed. They'll be done and should be done under Prime Minister May, and then the Conservative Party will take a view as to whether or not her authority has
let me just ask you this one,
from the general election.
She agreed she'd messed up.
Yeah,
that's not mine.
Yes,
messed up the general election.
And
what's to say she's not going to mess up the negotiations too? I mean, is she perhaps a messer-upper?
A cheap point and unfair. 7 weeks ago, she was the mistress of all she surveyed.
Yeah, but it turns out it was a bit of a fiction.
And she's taken responsibility for the election campaign to the 1922 committee, and we need to see what the landscape is going to look like in 2 years' time once this negotiation is complete.
This is not just about the Conservative Party, actually. This is about the whole country, and it's about all of Parliament. And there does not need to be a general election if we get a much more constructive approach from the government, a bit of humility to recognise, actually, it wasn't just a loss in terms of Theresa May and the Conservative Party, but actually she lost the confidence in the country.
It is extraordinary that she apologised to her own candidates, but she didn't apologise to the nation for the mess up.
Well, the nation made the choice that it made. I mean, they're entitled to.
She certainly has never apologised. The people in the north of Ireland voted with a clear majority not to leave the EU. Theresa May has completely disregarded that election, and she is dragging us out of the European Union kicking and screaming. So she is a messer-upper. She never once considered the impact a European boundary would have on my constituency or on the people in the northern half of Ireland, both 6 and 24 counties.
Those considerations
Thank you all three very warmly for joining us. Thank you very much.